Well, good morning, friends. As I had mentioned in the previous video, I was going to be taking a look at some black powder revolvers from a friend of mine whose husband had passed away a couple of years ago, and she was looking to get rid of these, and I showed some interest in them. And in the previous video, I had talked about a 51 Navy that I thought was 44 caliber. Well, that ended up being 36. But let me get started here, because as the title says, this is now going to be a tale of 5 guns. I was given the story that her husband, who I had known for a lot of years, rendezvoused with, things like that. Her story was that he actually received a box of dismantled guns and he put everything back together. And on this particular gun, I would agree that it was parts of different guns put together. The top of the barrel reads, address, Bill Edwards, Afton, Virginia, U.S., America. Now, I don't know who that is. It's definitely an Italian-made gun, black powder only, made in Italy. But there's, I don't know if this is Pieta. There's no Pieta name on it. There is a little stamp right here in the bottom, but I'm going to have to go and research this and find out, whose stamp this actually is. And I can tell with the reflection of the sun, it's definitely not a Uberti stamp. But I will tell you that the barrel serial number does match the serial number on the frame. And, this one's, there's some loose parts, things like that. This gun does cycle, but it's a little stiff right now. And that's because this gun has been stored for quite some time, very well greased. And I mean grease because the grease has become hard. But it does cycle. It locks up really good. There again, it's 36 caliber. It's a 61 Navy. It appears to me like the grips were changed at one time because the frame is proud, but at the same time, looking at the date code, this was manufactured sometime in the middle 70s. The cylinder, as you can tell, I'm hoping, is kind of wore out. You can still see the engraving. But this particular gun, I think what I'm going to do is just restore it, see how it shoots, and just take it from there. But that's what one of the guns are. I will tell you that when I had originally made contact with my friend, she had said she had two guns, and when we was securing a date and time, she had mentioned to me at that point she had found a third gun, and I might be interested in that also. But I'll get to that in just a few minutes. But I think what I'm going to do with this particular Navy is just strip it all down and just re-blue everything. Obviously give it a good bath and clean it up and see what I can do to tighten up this. I'm not quite sure if this is the original loading lever or not. And I will tell you, on all 3 guns that I'm going to be showing you, I've taken the barrels off and the rifling is absolutely pristine. So as old as these guns are, I can pretty much tell you that they were not put away dirty, so that the black powder would actually rust on the inside of the barrel. And my friend, not on this particular gun, but on the other 2 that I'm going to show you, he did go through and replace all of the screws. These screws have not been replaced. So here again, it's going to be a project. Now, the second gun, the date stamp also shows early 70s. And this is an Army San Marco revolver. It's a 51 Navy. Now, from what I can gather, and as you can tell, it's been plum brown frame and all, but the cylinder it has to be a brand new cylinder, or this gun's never been fired, because even on the inside of the cylinder, and I'm pretty sure that the camera's not going to pick it up, but the inside of the cylinder has still got bluing on it. So I don't know if my friend had replaced the cylinder or not, but cocks really good, locks up extremely tight, mechanisms all work fine. But I'm pretty sure, with a lot of confidence in my statement, that this was a kit gun, just simply because I don't know how well you can see it, but the tooling marks from the factory are still on the barrel. They're still on the frame also. So, and all the serial numbers do match the barrel, the frame, and the bottom of the grip. And as you can tell, this is one of the earlier models, because the trigger guard is kind of D-shaped back here, kind of square. Fits my hand really good. The action is super fantastic. And the bore light in this particular revolver, that bore shines like nobody's business. And as the gun is cocked, you can see that there's little to no gap right here between the cylinder and the forcing cone. I should have thought to get my feeler gauge, but I'm guessing that that's probably no more than 2 or 3 thousandths. But this gun obviously is going to have to be taken down and have all of the gun metal parts smoothened up like they came right from the factory. And this particular gun, because it has a blued cylinder, and I can pretty much tell you that the frame's never been case hardened. All of the screws are new. And I'm telling you, I believe this is a secondary wedge, because I can't get the wedge all the way through. Obviously, once I get everything done, I'll make that fit. But on this particular gun, maybe you might want to give me your opinion into which direction I may want to go. Now, I am going to case harden the frame. Once I get all of the plum brown off, I will go back and case harden this, and I've done that before. It's not a big deal. I'll do it in my forge. I'll just have to really work at controlling the heat. Or what I may do, well, no, let me qualify this better. Once I get it case hardened in my forge, if I decide to re-plum brown it, I can do that in my oven. So anyhow, I have that choice of re-plum browning everything, maybe just leaving everything in the white. But when you do case harden the frame, it's going to remain a gray color, like what you see right in through here, this gray color in through here. Or once I do re-case harden or case harden the frame, I may just go ahead and chemically blue it. I haven't decided yet, but maybe some of you guys can just give me your thoughts as to which direction I should actually go. And once again, it's an older Army San Marco, and the stamp code is showing that it is early 1970s. It looks like it's got an A1 on it. All of the stamps are still very, very deep. And there again, my only question is this the original cylinder? That I don't know. And I can tell you, looking at the face of the cylinder, they've never been chamfered. So I'm going to have to definitely do that. And the cones themselves look brand spanking new. So I have a decision to make with this, and I do like the grips. They look pretty good. I don't know how well the sun is reflecting off them, but I like the way the grips are right now, although right here I can see a gap between the end of the grips and the beginning of the frame. So that was the second gun. The third gun, which is what I was completely unaware of, was a 62 Pocket Navy. This gun it's got stamped on the top, Western Arms Corp, Santa Fe, New Mexico. And when you lower the loading lever, right here is the Uberti stamp. This little revolver is .36 caliber. The action on it is fantastic. The trigger pull is fantastic. The patina on it is fantastic. And the rifling is also super fantastic. The only thing about this gun is the grips. They're very, very proud. So I don't know if these are the original grips or not. But the way the grip is beveled here back to the frame, I would almost venture a guess that these are the original grips. They're just very, very proud. At this point, I'm planning on keeping this particular gun and its big brother. What would you guys do? Would you refinish this, or would you leave it in the patina? Myself, I'm favoring the patina. Obviously, all three guns need to come apart and have a proper cleaning and double check and inspect the internals. But I was not expecting this particular gun, and since I live here in New Mexico, I really like the Western Arms Corp Santa Fe, New Mexico stamped on the top. I really like that. The lockup, let me get in the camera here, the lockup is very tight, and obviously I've done just a little bit of research on the gun. I haven't done a lot of it, but just enough to know the history of the two Uberti brothers, if I'm understanding what I'm reading correctly. And one of them came here to New Mexico and started doing his own gun. So that's what this revolver is. So that's a nice little addition. Now, moving on. When we left her place, had to do a little bit of shopping, and sitting in the parking lot, she called me up and said, "Hey, I got something for you. They need to be restored, but a guy like you could do it." So when the shopping was done, went back over, and they handed me this long wooden box. I'm not going to drag it out right now. They handed me this long wooden box, and we opened it up, and to my surprise was two black powder rifles. Now, these are going to take a little bit of work, more so than these revolvers, because they were stored in a shed in the inclement weathers, and they were not stored by them. They had actually got these two long guns from another buckskinner that had passed away, and they thought they were going to take them and redo them. But one of them is a CVA Tennessee rifle. This one's not too terribly bad, per se. Obviously, I can see some of the moisture in the barrel. And the thing that concerns me, let me get to the front of it here, is these were stored with the ramrods in them. Now, yesterday I was able to get it in the sun and pull the ramrod aside. This is .45 caliber. The rifling right here does not look bad at all. The problem is I can't get the ramrods out. This one does spin, so I don't know if the original owner, when he stored them, put a rag at the end of it, put a lot of grease or lube on the end of it, run it down the barrel and just let it set. So I'm going to be, and I've had these soaking for about 3 days, 3-4 days with WD-40. I can now spin it, whereas originally on Saturday I could not. So I'm going to be restoring this. There is a little bit of rust on the top of the barrel, a little bit up here, but like I said, I've had it soaking with WD-40. The nipple is missing from the drum, a little bit of rust up here, but the mechanisms do work. And I've had them soaking also. So, in my opinion, I really don't think restoring this is going to be all that problematic. But obviously, I won't know until I get the ramrod out. So this was a complete surprise. I guess they just all came as a package deal at the end of the day. But yeah, I can see where the moisture has lifted the grain a little bit. So I will have to be refinishing that. But, you know, if I refinish it and they shoot pretty good, it'll just end up on my trade blanket. Now comes the real issue. Let me get resituated here. All right, this is the real issue. It's a Cabela's 54 caliber Hawkins style gun. And I can also tell you that this was purchased in kit form. One of the leading things that I want to point to is the trigger guard. I don't know how well the camera can pick it up, but the center seam of the trigger guard is still in the brass. I mean, it's obviously, I should say it's painfully clear. It just looks to me like this rifle was purchased and just thrown together and taken to a rendezvous. But if you guys can kind of look at that as I turn the guard, you can definitely see the center seam. Now, the wood, looking at the wood, you can see just how, hopefully you can see just how proud it is right here. And the butt plate's never been polished. I can still see the pits from the casting. And if I turn it this way, hopefully you can see just how proud everything is from the butt plate. And you can also see it here in the patch box. And I can also tell from the tang, it's never been blued, never been plum browned. The only thing that's been blued or browned on this particular gun obviously would be the lock, and traditionally the Cabela's locks come very nicely carved. That is blued. I have that soaking in some WD-40 right now, but I've got to let these stocks dry out, maybe a month inside the house or something like that, see how much the stock is going to shrink before I decide to do any work on it. The patch box is fully functional, but it's been sitting out in a inclement shed. So, but my real problem and my real issue comes with the barrel. And I do have it soaking with WD-40. This thing was incredibly rusty. And it would stand to reason, because if the tang was never blued, then neither was the barrel. The only thing that was blued on it is the mechanism that, word escapes me, the lug for the barrels for the ramrod. And this also is stuck in the gun. But what I did the other day, I put some WD-40 on one of these Scotch-Brite pads, and I just started going at it just to see if I could get some of that surface rust off, just to see how badly pitted the barrel truly is. And all in all, friends, it's not truly that bad. You would have thought I would have thought it'd have been a whole lot worse. I mean, even on the adjustable sights, the spring and everything in it still works. And you can clearly see that this is a Cabela's gun. Yeah, I got WD-40 spilling everywhere right now. You can clearly see, hopefully you can clearly see it, Cabela's right there. And I've had friends in the past own Cabela's rifles, and they're actually good guns. They really, really are. In fact, the metal on them is just a little bit thicker than what a Thompson's would be. And yes, I know Thompson's is out of business. I know all that. But obviously I have quite a bit of work to do with this particular gun. My biggest concern is getting the ramrod out of the gun and seeing what condition the rifling truly is in. And unfortunately, because of the ramrod, and I suspect this is not the original ramrod because this is one of those synthetic rods. I'm sure it was used, what most skinners do, use it as a range rod instead of using wood. So that's where I'm at. This is the tale of these 5 guns. If you have any suggestions, please put them in the comment section. This is going to be a project that's going to take some time over the winter. And here again, I'm not concerned about the metal pitting because nothing else on this gun was sanded down. The brass was never cleaned up. The patch box on the brass was never cleaned up. The casting on the butt plate was never cleaned up. And looking at the tang itself, once again, I don't know how well the camera can pick it up, but I can tell you this wasn't worked either. And I'm pretty sure that right now, if you look at the gaps, you can see the gaps. I think that's just because the wood is kind of swollen a little bit. There is, looking at this right here, right now, this piece of wood right here does have a crack right there. So obviously I'm going to have to do something with that. But all in all, everything is what it is. I guess I don't know what to say at this point other than I've got some winter projects which I am very much looking forward to doing. I will, if the barrel for this Cabela's rifle is in good shape, obviously once I get everything done I'm going to shoot them before I put them on my trade blanket. But at that point, if anybody's interested, we can talk. But for the most part, I'm very happy with everything that I've got, especially the rifles, because obviously these were no cost whatsoever. And the revolvers, here's the 61 Navy. Once again, I'm planning on redoing this. I will tell you, having the cylinder off, the cylinder pins that you would normally use on half cock, if I remember correctly, I think 3 of them are either broken or smashed in, and I'm not quite sure if I'll actually drill them out or just leave them. Something needs to be done with them. So that's a project gun, and then the 51 Navy is going to have to be a project gun because I want to get off all of the tooling marks. I'm going to case harden the frame, and then I guess depending on what you guys put into the comment section, what you might do with something like this. You might give me some food for thought, something that I hadn't thought about. But obviously, I'm either going to have to blue it because the cylinder's blue, or I'm going to have to strip the cylinder down and plumb brown it, and I really do not want to do that. I know I've mentioned before the first black powder revolver I built, I plumb browned it. I didn't like that, but all in all, this ain't that bad either. And then the 62 Pocket Navy. And I'm leaving this one completely as is. So friends, thanks for watching. I hope some of you guys can give me some food for thought as to what I should do in particular with the 51 Navy, because I am planning on keeping this one just to add to the collection. And this one, like I said before, I will refinish this and offer it for sale. And if anybody has any information as to regard the stamping on top of the barrel, once again, address Bill Edwards, Afton, Afton, VA, USA, America. I don't know if that's obviously the distributor, because the importer on the barrels right here says Italy. But I don't know who was actually the manufacturer. It does, like I said, it does have a stamp right here, but I got to get a magnifying to look at that a little bit better. So anyhow, friends, thanks for watching. I hope that you will take a moment or two to like and subscribe. And thanks for sharing some time. Have a wonderful day. Bye.